Welcome to the I'm Healing podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode. I have Judy Machado. I hope I said that right. With me today. Yes, if you're catching this on the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe if you are, and leave a review. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, same thing, go on and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of this episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because this is actually one of the first times I think I'm interviewing someone who's not in the same country as me, and also someone who I don't really have a familiar background with. So this is going to be just as new to you all as it is for me. And so today's topic, we're going to be talking about healing with plant medicine, and a specific plant medicine, cacao. Now, before we dive in, I do want to say I don't recommend the recreational use of plant medicine. So I do always recommend that you do your research, that you work with an expert, and you work with someone who has built a relationship with whatever plant medicine that you're using for your healing. And so, Judy, let us know how we can find you, and let us know who you are and what you do.
Oh my goodness. Iris, thank you so much for inviting me into your beautiful world, your beautiful community. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm so, so grateful. It honestly is such an honor to share more of my story and more of the story of cacao and this magical plant medicine that I'm so excited to share with all of you. Um, Cacao came into my life a few years ago. I'd been an entrepreneur my whole life, and my brother-in-law went to Peru to spend 14 days with the Shipibo tribe to experience a beautiful journey, mostly with ayahuasca plant medicine, but also San Pedro and some others, and came back completely transformed. He had so much anxiety and depression before he had left. And it was such it was like magic to experience him when he came back, and I wanted to learn everything about this. And throughout the last few years, he was telling me, so in the beginning he was telling me about cacao and how there were cacao trees everywhere, and the beautiful Shipibo tribe were talking about how the cacao is also a master plant medicine, a sacred teacher plant medicine. And that created in me the most incredible awakening or remembering. I needed to know everything. You know, when you have a calling, like a real calling from the soul, I needed to know everything I could about this plant medicine. And it's so beautiful when the student is ready, the teacher appears, this gorgeous shaman literally dropped into my life. And she had also spent 7 years in Peru with the Shipibo, and learning and teaching also through plant medicines. And so I experienced how our beautiful ancestors and indigenous have revered this beautiful plant medicine in the Shipibo tribes as well as in the Mayan tribes. And I had my own sacred, incredible relationship. And that's what I'm excited to share with you all today is really what happened to me, how I've started to drink this cacao years ago every day, why that happened, and what happened to me, and what's possible for you in terms of opening in your heart, unlike anything you can ever imagine, and transforming your world. And so basically, to fast forward, there I was building all these businesses. And because this beautiful plant medicine completely transformed my life in so many ways, I decided, as I was working and communicating and having this beautiful relationship with the sacred spirit, asking what I could do to help support others to also drink this incredible medicine every day. And that's when I decided about 3.5 years ago to start Goddess Temple Cacao and to help others to start their own beautiful sacred morning ritual with this drink, what to do, how to do it, how easy it can be. And that's my story.
That's such a beautiful story. I love when things kind of align for us like that, especially with plant medicine. I will say, for anyone who's interested, is listening, and you're thinking about, diving into sacred plant medicine, you'll know when you're ready because it kind of comes to you. It kind of shows up in your life in that way. And, if you listen to previous episodes, I talk a little bit about my experience with San Pedro, with And so for me, I also talk about it in my book, Healing My Four Bodies. And so for me, it was something that I didn't know anything about, and I was called to it. And so I'm really excited about the conversation and learning a little bit more about what you do with Goddess Temple Cacao, because there's like you said, there's ayahuasca, there's San Pedro, and then today we're talking about cacao specifically. So I want to know, for you, what would you say are the main, not the main benefits, but what you've received from your healing journey in working with cacao? For anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know what it is, maybe describe like what form it comes in and how you intake this as well.
Thank you so much. Yes, this beautiful, I guess it's the main, we can call it the main ingredient to make chocolate. And chocolate, as we know, is the world's most popular, most famous food. Everyone, for the most part, loves chocolate. We give chocolate to our friends, to our lovers, to our family. It just makes us feel so good. And so this sacred medicine and raw ingredient, cacao, which is a fruit, we love it so much in its processed form as chocolate. Can you imagine how beautiful and how happy and how euphoric it can make us feel in its raw form, especially when we bring the honoring and the reverence? So the cacao itself is a fruit, and it's grown in the jungles, and it's this beautiful fruit, and the tree is called Theobroma Cacao. And in Greek, Theo means God or goddesses. And broma in Latin is food. So food of the gods and goddesses. And you might, of all the food here on earth, this is the only food that's called food of the gods and goddesses. So when we actually stop and we're conscious of that, and we ask that question, why would this be called food of the gods and goddesses? And we can go so deep and have so many beautiful conversations about the mind, the body, and the spirit aspect of this incredible plant medicine. It is here to help us with our mind, our body, and our spirit. First of all, it is the original superfood. It has everything we need in it. Magnesium, copper, it has so many beautiful benefits to help us even with our mindset, to help many of us who might have depression or anxiety. It has dopamine. It has all of these beautiful ingredients that help us to feel bliss. Anandamide, the bliss chemical, it just helps us to feel euphoric. It's just such an incredible plant medicine that is here for our body, for physical body. And what fascinates me the most is the spiritual side, the spiritual significance of cacao. Because first of all, I want to acknowledge and honor our beautiful ancestors and our indigenous families who have been the caretakers of our gorgeous earth for forever. And these beautiful ancestors and indigenous families have also been the caretakers of our plant medicines. And they have known for thousands of years the sacredness, the fact that these are glorious, conscious spirits that are literally waiting for us to talk to them. They're just like anxious and waiting for us to talk to them so that they can start working with us. Because if we don't ask, we don't receive. We have free will. And so they're literally waiting for us. And this beautiful cacao plant medicine, I'm going to share a little bit of what happened to me and then how I started to share this plant medicine, because I found in that, at first, when I first started to drink cacao, I was very excited and wanted to share this with everyone. And yet at the same time, I knew that the relationship with the plant medicine was so sacred and so important and so critical before we start sharing it with everyone, because we need also to have this understanding with the plant. The plant medicine's taking us into another realm, opening up our hearts, working with us. And if we have this calling to also share it with others, it's starting to talk to it and asking, when is the time? What should we do? How should we do this? All those answers come to us. And if I can sort of back up a little bit, when I first started this journey, I was working with a shaman. I wanted to experience how the Shipibo would sit in ceremony with this beautiful plant medicine, the Mayans as well. And then I started to have this literally like a whispering. It was like the cacao spirit was whispering to me. It was saying, talk to me, talk to me. Because I would go to the ceremonies And I would just, the shaman would speak to the spirit, or someone in the room would. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say. I didn't know. It was really interesting. I just felt like, back then I felt that intuition was the one thing that I felt like everyone had intuition except me. I was like, why does everybody have that gift except me? And then I started to hear, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And in the other ear, I heard, drink me every day, drink me every day. So talk to me and drink to me every day. And I was like, oh, and I was looking online, couldn't really find very much about it 4 years ago in terms of the daily drink, how much should I drink? And so I just started to open up, and I would start to talk to the cacao, how much should I be drinking? I'm not even sure. And I would just start small, see how you're doing. And I would love to, at the end, if it's okay, Iris, at the end of this podcast, maybe we can do a little cacao blessing so that everyone can experience, once you have your cacao, what to do. Because I didn't know. I was so intimidated. I was like, this higher consciousness, I'm not in a ceremony right now with others. So what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to speak to it? And so I'd love to just share just a way where you can open your heart and speak directly to this magical plant and connect to it.
Definitely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And it's almost like in hearing your story, your journey, you were seeking to tap into intuition. And it's almost like you building your relationship with cacao led you to trust your intuition by, listening, by listening, by following. And, I always say that that's the divine network, that's our ancestors, it's Pachamama, Mother Earth really, really inside of us, because we are Mother Nature. And so really tapping back into how do we make that connection to not only listen, but trust ourselves and follow it. So I definitely would love for you to, share, your, your blessing and how you intake it. I'll share a little bit of my experience with it. I went to a retreat, I want to say sometime end of 2020. And this was maybe my first experience that I had with Hape, or Hape, sacred tobacco, or sacred snuff. And I also had the experience of being able to try cacao. And so I think, and it's funny because I tell my clients this when I'm working with them, whether we're doing yoga or mindfulness, to kind of release expectation and things like that, and tap into intuition. So maybe as I'm saying this now, maybe I was a little bit blocked to it. So I've only ever experienced cacao once. And I remember sitting there, and for those of you who are listening and not watching, Judy has been holding up her cup. And so it is something that you ingest from like a teacup or a cup of some sort, and it is prepared like a drink. And so it was prepared for me, and we sat in ceremony. And I remember thinking to myself that it looked like chocolate, hot chocolate, but it wasn't hot chocolate. So I felt deceived when I drank it because it wasn't sweet, it was more bitter. And so it was like that disappointment of like, no one prepared me that this wasn't going to taste really good. And then, which just for the record, most plant medicines do not taste good. But for me, it was like, I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was that this was, or what was told to me was that this was a heart opener. And so I was like, okay, I'm here to receive love and work on self-love and be able to love more. And so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, what I was supposed to be, what was supposed to happen after you intake it. When I go to ceremony and I do San Pedro, I know what to expect. And when I go, I might be purging, right? There might be some things that show up, whether that's visuals or even downloads, right? When I do have pain, the same thing. Maybe I'm a little bit more grounded. I feel that I feel the medicine kind of doing the healing work. And so what would you say is something that someone should expect, quote, expect, right? Because I'm saying want to release expectations, but at the same time, what would someone who wants to develop a relationship with cacao, what would you recommend that they do in those moments? Or is there and I know you'll share your own little blessing and how you go about it, but what are some of your recommendations of how to go about building the relationship with this medicine?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you brought up that question, because it's so true. It's first of all, I always like to share that, you know, cacao is not a psychedelic. So unlike many, even most of the plant medicines are psychedelic, so they'll bring you into sort of an altered state of consciousness. Sometimes the cacao can do this, but it's very different from the effect of psychedelic. So cacao is not a psychedelic. So I always tell people, for sure, don't expect, or not don't expect, but don't expect that for sure you're going to have a psychedelic experience. Some people have, although again, it's very gentle. And some people don't even feel it, and others feel euphoria. Others feel a little bit of sadness the first time that they drink it. Because if you can imagine, our hearts, and I'm just making a little fist here, our hearts have so many band-aids on top of it, just from all of our pain and all of our suffering and our stories and our limiting beliefs. We just keep putting band-aid over band-aid. And our heart, which really is the size, is probably this size because there's so many band-aids over top of it. So the cacao is here to work with our heart chakra. It comes straight to our heart. So sometimes people feel a little bit of heat around the heart. Some people don't, some people do. Some people are more sensitive. My mother, for example, she can only drink like a little espresso size, even during a full ceremony where we typically drink 1 or 2 cups. One little espresso size is perfect for her. So I always say, when it's your first time, what to expect. I actually did a video on YouTube for this. What to expect nothing. Yeah. But it was a 15-minute video. So we did go on a little bit about that. And it's basically, in the expectation of nothing, expect that this magical plant medicine is connecting with you. It is in some way. Sometimes our expectation is so strong, or we have this, well, I'm going to have a feeling, or I'm going to have a thought or a memory. And then after the ceremony, throughout the ceremony, we might be saying, well, nothing's happening. I don't have that feeling or memory, but we actually did. We just didn't notice. We weren't really aware or present perhaps for that, which is okay. Everything happens for a reason. Or maybe the message is also, where else in your life are you always having these expectations? Because these plant medicines are here to work with us on what's going on in our life. In fact, it's so interesting because I have a beautiful line of ceremonial cacao that comes from Ecuador and comes from Peru. So the paste comes from Ecuador and the powder comes from Peru. And I know that whenever I have a client contact me, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens where there's a delay in the shipment, and a client contacts me very angry that there's a delay in the shipment somehow, I always contact that client and I say, the sacred cacao is already working with you. Ask yourself why you might be upset right now. Why are you upset that there's a delay, something out of your control? And they always go, oh my God. It's like, because everything is intentional with these medicines. Every memory, every smell that happens when we're in ceremony, every memory of a smell, every thought, every feeling, why am I remembering something about kindergarten? Everything that's happening is happening. We don't need to understand in the moment, because our heart, it's opening up our heart. The cacao is here to open up the heart chakra, almost like a peony flower. Imagine a peony flower, how tight those buds are. And then it just goes, and it opens up so beautifully, so big. So it's opening up our heart, because normally we're in these tight little, like maybe got a little bit of flowering, but the cacao's going sprout right open. Peony flower is totally open. You feel so much love, and you are literally lost in love during the ceremony. And then the cacao starts to sprinkle into your awareness all these little, whether it's a smell, a thought, a memory. I always like to mention, the text message from a couple days ago where you're still pissed off about it because you just can't get over how rude that person was, your brother, your sister, whoever, and something shows up. And sometimes it is the triggers, the strong triggers of I'm angry, I'm pissed, I'm upset, some memory, because your heart is open. So you're in more of an elevated state of compassion. And the cacao has brought you into an elevated state of consciousness. So as we learn consciousness, we know consciousness is different layers and levels. They're all beautiful. We're all experiencing life through different layers and seeing different perspectives based on where we're at. And so the cacao is just taking us above into the next layer, which is really more of who you really are, more love. It's just showing you more love. Because the more you expand in consciousness, the more you experience more of the love and the divinity that you are. So it's showing you a little bit more. Your heart's wide open. You're feeling compassion. You're feeling happy, euphoric. You get this memory that's pissing you off suddenly because it's a text message. But then with your heart open, you're like, oh, hang on a second. And sometimes the cacao will show you the other side, the perspective. So that other person's perspective. And sometimes not. It's just a feeling you get. It's a, oh, that's so silly. It's all good. You know what? That person, yes, was angry and yes, shouldn't have done that. That was rude. But you know what? Love to that person, sending love to that person. And you move on in your own love instead of keeping that space, which is for more love in your body. You're keeping it and you're holding on to some of that anger or upset. The cacao will help you to release it so beautifully, so magically. And so to sum up your answer, your beautiful question, sometimes you may not feel like you've experienced anything in a ceremony. That has happened to me even to this day. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I just had my little morning cacao. I didn't really feel like anything sort of euphoric happened. But what happens when you leave? The cacao is in your body. And the cacao is forever in you and in your spirit. You can call on it at any time. This is what's so beautiful. And the more we drink the cacao, what I found, the more I started to drink the cacao every day, bringing honoring and reverence, that is the key. Because we can just be like, oh, look at this cacao. Okay, I expect something to happen. Drink. Where's my expectation? Or, wow, the sacred medicine. How lucky I am. How grateful I am. How beautiful this is. That this information, very few people on the earth knew the sacredness. And now I truly believe the cacao is coming out of the jungles faster than ever before, into our yoga studios, into the internet, into everywhere. People are hearing the calling. Why? Because the world has never needed our hearts open more than right now. Look at what's happening around the world. And so sometimes, and just imagine after drinking the cacao, what's going on after? And that's why I love to drink cacao in the morning, because not only can you communicate with it, and we're going to get to the talk to me part of the conversation. You can communicate, you can ask, you wait to receive, and you will receive in some form. And it's going to help you to just understand why the world looks like it's about to, blow up and explode in terms of all over the place, in terms of the chaos that's happening all over the place. It takes you, literally the cacao will take you into the cosmos, into a space of getting out of your box of why this is happening in my country or my neighborhood or my world or my family or whatever it is, our little box, into the cosmos. And sometimes it's not, I don't mean visually like you're floating out in the cosmos, but you literally feel the love that you would feel if you remembered that you are part of the cosmos. So you remember this love that you are, and then you remember more of who you are, why you're here, and why the chaos is existing, and how the chaos is existing so that evolution can take place, so that we can evolve and remember who we are. Because you can't see the stars without the darkness. And I truly believe we all came to Earth School agreeing to forget who we are, these perfect, infinite souls, part of cosmic consciousness. We agreed to forget. We're like, oh, I'm going to Earth School. You going to Earth School? Okay, let's go to Earth School. Let's go to Earth School. Oh, we got to agree that we're going to forget who we are, because otherwise it's not a school, right? Because you got to start from a place of not knowing or not remembering. And then you go through kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, the levels of consciousness. When you're in grade 12, you're not going to look back at kindergarten and get angry at somebody because they don't understand physics. They're just incapable of it. They're on their own journey. Their journey is to enjoy recess. Yes, you've moved on to something else, but that's this beautiful place where we go into this cosmos, into this space, which is hard to explain. It's kind of like meditation. You cannot really explain it. You have to experience it. And for me with cacao, I started to drink me every day and talk to me. And so I would drink every day a little bit. Sometimes I had 3 minutes to sit in ceremony. Sometimes I had an hour. I would start to speak to it, ask for support. I'm worried about this. Can you help me with this one project, some clarity? I'm feeling sad today. I don't know why. Can you help me get to this root of where this sadness is so that I can release it? Help me to see what this is, how I can release it. Start asking for questions. Sometimes I didn't know what to ask. I would just say, just whatever you see as that next layer that's perfect for me to just peel away and let it go. So I can remember more of my divinity and bring more love to this earth instead of putting band-aids, more band-aids and hold my love back. Help me to remove these. So all I am is this gorgeous, explosive, majestic, magnificent version of love, regardless of who you are, what your health status is, what color you are, what country you're from, equally loving everyone.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of stuff came up for me as I heard you talk about not just your experience, but even the expectation, just uh, for myself, coming back to the place of knowing that when you work with plant medicine, you can set an intention. You're honoring it. I love that you said like honor and reverence. You're honoring it. But the healing energy, the divineness of it is going to serve you how it's meant to serve, even if you set a specific intention. So as I think about me sitting in ceremony, my intention was, oh, open up my heart chakra and receive love and be love. And then also in that same moment, I'm like, oh, nothing's happening. What am I supposed to feel? So that judgment that's showing up, that am I doing this right? And it's funny as I talk about this is how I work with my own clients, even with Reiki, with loving kindness and mindfulness and things like that, to be able to say, to be in acceptance of receiving whatever the healing energy is meant to, find you. And it's funny because I think even how you and I connected, now I'm thinking to myself, oh, cacao is like nudging me. We need to build a relationship, boo. Because, I think that I kind of was like, I had my one experience with them. It was, and even there was some not that I shunned it, but there was some like resistance and hesitance to building a relationship with it because of my one first experience where it was like, well, quote, nothing happened. But the reality is that there was things that happened when I think about my life and how it transformed after that retreat. I was able to finish my book, and I was in a car accident on the way home from that retreat with every crystal in my car, and I was divinely protected, and I'm still here. And so, so thinking about all of that, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. Um, Universe, I hear you. I'm supposed to be building a relationship, and you're not the first person who I think you're probably the third or fourth person since then who has been a advocate of using cacao even daily. And I've been invited to some like virtual, especially during COVID, cacao ceremonies where they would mail you the cacao, and then you would work with them virtually. And I'm like, I'm good. And so now here I'm like, dang, cacao's been trying to nudge you for a while. So I hear you. I'm ready to receive. I hear that you do. You said that you work with somewhere where you receive your products. So I'm interested in learning more about that. Anybody who's listening, if they want to do a ceremony with you, whether it's, I think on your website that you offer some virtual things, and
Yes.
you also offer in person. And for those of you who are listening, she's in Canada. So if you're for now, if you're in Canada and Toronto area, reach out to her. Or I'm not sure where you actually offer these things in person, but someone wanted to connect with someone like you. if they were interested, hi, it's me. How would they go about reaching out to you? What services do you offer related to this to help somebody like me, or someone who's totally new to plant medicine in general, build this relationship?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I must say the virtual ceremonies are magical. It's amazing. It's all about the energy, right? And the intention. And part of just the way I was introduced and this remembering within me, I always like to start the ceremony talking about the cacao, reminding everyone where the cacao is from. It's the food of the gods. We bring so much honoring and reverence before we even drink the cacao that it's just like your heart is like out in the cosmos already. It's so magical, because I find sometimes people go to a plant medicine ceremony and you're just kind of supposed to know about it, and we just start drinking right away, and hopefully you do. Some of them are very, you're there for like a few days or a few weeks, or you're in the jungle and you've flown somewhere, so hopefully you do know a little bit about it. But with cacao, with any kind of plant medicine, I truly believe the honoring and the reverence, and I'll tell you why. You bring so much honoring and reverence before you even drink it. Like what we do with the cup, how we observe the surface, we literally get lost in the hypnotic surface, everything we do before we even drink. And that's because what happened with me, all that honoring and reverence, eventually the cacao started to mirror to me, literally on the surface, that I am also the medicine. And that's what everyone, that's my wish, is that everyone experiences that. You are the medicine. We are waking up to realize that we are, each of us, cosmic, beautiful beings from the cosmos. We are angelic. We've just temporarily forgotten it. And these plant medicines are just like, literally, I feel like they're like these little children, like giggling, just going, please, talk to me, because they're that much fun. They're that much fun.
Yeah.
They're like happy. They're like, please, like, make it fun. Stop being so serious. Come over here. I'm going to help you. Especially cacao, because it's a heart medicine. It's like, it's gentle too. It's very gentle. Like you say, sometimes you might feel it, sometimes you might not. Sometimes you feel euphoric. Sometimes you feel sadness. Anything that's happening is a purging. Allow it all to come through. You feel sad, cry. You want to sneeze, sneeze. You want to laugh, laugh. It's all a purging that's happening through your body. These medicines are, when we ask, they come and they start moving in our body. Sometimes it's a pain. Sometimes it's a burp, a hiccup, I don't know, something, but you just let it through. It's all a beautiful purging to get, sometimes our issues are in our tissues, right? We hold on to these things in our body. So it's allowing it to get out, this beautiful temple. They're wanting to help us with this temple to reestablish this beautiful, magnificent temple of ours, and to open up our hearts to remember the magnificence, the divinity that we all are. Not some of us. Every single one of us is. And if we don't believe it right now, it's only because we've been conditioned to not believe it. But that's okay. Now we know that. We don't have to be angry with all the conditioning and, oh my God, look what's happened. It's like, that's okay. It happened. Now we're going to be the divinity that we are, this divine, beautiful, energetic love. We're going to find people who are feeling the same way, and we're going to expand and bring more of this love, because the more energetic, vibrational love, more of this unconditional love that we become ourselves, not look around and expect others to do it. The more we become ourselves, the more we are completely shifting the collective consciousness everywhere, all over the planet and beyond, into the cosmos. That's how powerful we are. Our energy is so powerful. And so we can either, kind of get stuck in the energy of what's not working, and that's important too, to be advocates as well, whatever is right in your heart. And at some point we'll get into a place where it feels so damn good to just create the next level of whatever it is we think we'd like to create in this world, the next school system, the next level of, whatever it is that you wish to build for the greater good of humanity, especially in collaboration, right? Cacao's going to help us. It's going to guide you to like, look at you and I randomly, like Crazy, right? And here we are having this beautiful conversation, first time meeting each other, how magical this is, right? It's
Right,
bringing people
right.
together to collaborate. I mean, who knows what's going to happen at some point with the two of us, or with anyone else, or with this beautiful community of yours who's going to come on board and hear this and want to do even more work and want to open up their hearts. And then perhaps even say, this has been magical. How can I now share this with the world? Because this wasn't something that I, consciously thought of. I was just like, what is this? Talk to me, drink me every day. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to drink this every day. And like, oh, felt so good. All these thoughts. And that's another thing I want to share is there's the difference between an idea and a knowing. So an idea and a knowing. And what I found before drinking cacao was I would get this idea and I'd be like, oh, I love that idea. Okay, let me think of the idea. Okay, I'm going to plan. I'm going to do this. That's my new idea. Then after cacao, it was, I would ask for clarity on, should I do this project, especially collaborations, anything anyone asks me around cacao, collaboration, we do a ceremony together and we ask the cacao, is this the right time? Is this the right collaboration?
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it beautiful? And you will do that whether you're working with cacao or whether you're not working with cacao. But for sure with me, because cacao, I've asked the cacao, how can you use me? And how can I bring this magical medicine as a daily drink for people in their own home? Yes, it's beautiful to go to a ceremony, but how can you drink this yourself as well and create your own little ceremony? I just found that's like the most magical thing to do in your own home, create that sacred space. And it just became this this beautiful journey of again, when I was wanting to share this with my community, I would ask the cacao, how can I share this? I'm already doing women's circles. Can I bring this into the community? And I kept hearing, only the tea for now, only the tea for now. So the tea was much lighter. And so I would drink, that's what I'm drinking right now, is the tea, which is really the husk of the seed. It kind of look like coffee beans, but they're called cacao seeds. And that husk, the exterior, gets crushed so that they can remove the paste to turn that into the cacao, remove the seed to turn that into the paste. And the husk gets moved aside and you infuse that in water and you make a tea out of it. And it's beautiful. And then after doing these beautiful tea ceremonies with the cacao, creating more of a sacred relationship, everyday drinking, speaking with the cacao, creating this magical relationship, that is when the cacao started to bring me more guidance. What's next? Now what can I do? Well, now you can do this, or now you can do that. And then it came to a point where I had a lot of background with helping I spent 7 or 8 years as a business owner with 2 others. We had a global business selling products to large corporations like Walmarts and big Targets and that sort of thing, candles and potpourri and scented product, like tons of stuff. It was crazy. And so I had all this experience and I thought, well, how can because I was already doing retreats also in Peru where we were going to farms, how can I bring this beautiful medicine also? And that's when I asked the cacao, what about creating Goddess Temple Cacao, a line of Goddess Temple Cacao with this beautiful farm here and this beautiful farm here? Yes, yes, yes. So the answers come to you and the guidance comes. But when there's a block, that's when you know it's either not the right time or it's not meant to be. And so that was amazing for me. If we go back to my story at the beginning where I didn't feel like I had intuition, all of a sudden now I can literally just call on the cacao or any other consciousness or spirit that's of the greater good that you feel connected to. Cacao is one of these beautiful plant medicines you can connect to. I'm just sharing my story because it's been so magical. I call it the magic carpet ride. And I
Love
also
that.
love it. And I also love it because it also opens up a creativity beyond what you can imagine. It opens up an amazing creativity. So I love it in the morning because it's a ceremony. It's the way to start the day. And then you go do your work. So again, it's not a psychedelic. You don't have to be sitting down with your eyes closed. You can go do your work, do everything. And the creativity is phenomenal because your heart's wide open. You're in a place of compassion. Cacao's taking you to this expanded place. So now when you're working on your projects, you're thinking completely outside of the box. You are literally outside of your box. The cacao is taking you out to experience beyond the veil. And then that is why it's for so many reasons, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful morning guru, spirit, guide, prophet, whatever you want to call it, God, cosmos, consciousness. It is a beautiful aid in our spiritual journey in helping us to remember who we are,
And I
which
feel
is
that so
divine
much.
beings.
Wow. I feel that so much in my heart as you're saying that. And the message I'm getting is you've been denying yourself of your the god or the goddess, the fruit of the goddess and the gods. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, right, all right. I'm listening. I'm listening. I surrender.
It's so perfect, right? It
Thank
really
you
is.
so much for
Oh,
sharing that. I'm definitely going to be checking out more of your website and the services that you offer on top of any other products that you have. Let people know how they can find you,
yeah.
your website, your Instagram, any offerings or events that you have upcoming. Definitely plug that right now if you
Oh,
want
beautiful.
to.
Thank you. I'm actually just finalizing with my team a beautiful challenge for any coffee drinkers out there who are thinking, I wish I could drink less coffee. I've tried to, cut back. I'm creating a beautiful challenge called Break Up with Coffee and Awaken with Cacao. It's a 7-day challenge, and it's not necessarily for you to entirely break up with coffee if you don't want to, because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I am here to bring us together to become aware. Why are you drinking coffee? When did you first start drinking coffee? What does coffee do for you? We're going to become extremely conscious of that one habit, because just zoning in on that one habit is going to make us realize, oh my God, what else are we doing and saying and believing and thinking that is just a habit?
Oh, that's real. I definitely would love to be a part of that challenge. I think before 2020, I had gave up coffee because it exacerbated for me anxiety. It also exacerbated sleep issues, and even during my menstrual cycles, there was more discomfort, and I didn't have that sacred connection to my cycle. So I gave up coffee, and then COVID happened, and the only thing I could do is go to the store and get coffee and come back home. So it's definitely back in my life,
Yeah.
and I would love to
Mm.
decrease just my caffeine intake
Mhm.
again. So definitely interested in that. And you guys can find her at Goddess Temple Cacao. So
Yeah.
cacao is CACOA.
AO.
Oh,
See,
AO,
AO,
AO.
yeah.
My bad. I said that
That's
wrong.
okay.
CACAO.
Yeah.
Y'all got it. And definitely go to her website, goddesstemplecacao.com, at Goddess Temple Cacao on Instagram, her YouTube. I'm definitely interested in watching some more of YouTube to learn more about this. Before you share your little blessing, I always ask all of my guests, what does healing mean to you? And it can be an
Mhm.
acronym or, just in a few words.
Yeah.
What does healing mean for you? And you can tie it into your experience with how cacao has helped you in your healing journey.
Yeah. Healing for me is a remembering. It's simply an unraveling and a remembering. So it's literally just getting to the core of who you are and have always been. That's it. And we all can be healed. And it's just removing, especially a lot of the stories and the beliefs that a lot of which we've taken on as little children. And so we didn't even know. And then they just became programmed within us. And so it's just literally becoming conscious, slowing down, becoming conscious. And then it's an unraveling, because it's probably a story or a belief. So it's an unraveling, becoming conscious of the story, belief, unraveling, letting it go, and then a remembering.
Love that. Thank you so much. And as you've been holding your fist up kind of a reference to heart, it reminds me of like this conversation I'll share quickly. with a relative who, had been through a lot of trauma. And when I was talking to them about, and now the rain comes, I'm listening to the rain, and I'm listening to a bunch of rain. It's 5:55 as we're watching this, as
Wow.
I'm saying this. But she said to me, as far as all of her trauma, like, oh no, like, I don't need to process it. I don't need therapy. I don't need to heal. I just lock it up in a box in my heart. And I felt like, ooh, you.
Oh,
And so I'm thinking about those layers kind of just compounding
yeah.
on top, and how that the issues in the tissues, how that manifests into
Mm.
not just mental health symptoms, but physical symptoms, and how working with cacao can help really to like lift all of this energetically. Even the way that we work with Reiki energy healing, but from a more profound, from a more aligned and divine way. So thank you for being here and for sharing. I love that definition of remembering, that coming back to self. It reminds me of
Mm.
that. And so, yeah, I'll let you kind of share
Wow.
your little ceremony or ritual that you do.
Beautiful.
So,
Wow. And if I can just add on to that, we are our happiest when we are in love, right? When we are in love and when we're giving something, right? When we're sharing something with somebody or giving, that is when we are our happiest. So the cacao, that's what the cacao is doing, is helping us to get lost in love again with everything. With you and me right now, we're lost in love. With hopefully everybody on this call is lost in love with us here too, with potentially a partner, with our mother, with everybody getting lost in love, because that's where the magic happens, right? So beautiful. So thank you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to describe what I'm doing for those who are listening right now and not seeing us. The first thing is I hold the cup with two hands and I cradle it. So I want you to imagine that you are moving a lamp, a very expensive lamp, small little lamp, from one table to the next table in a room, like the most expensive lamp you can imagine. How would you carry that lamp? Because it's so precious. So this is the kind of honoring and reverence we start with, is when we hold with two hands. For me, again, you don't have to do anything that I'm suggesting. Just go into your heart, feel what's right for you. I'm just sharing what has been so beautiful for me. And so I hold a cup with two hands, just like this. And I hold it next to my chest, my heart, as I look down. And the first thing I do before I drink is I look at the surface of the cacao. And the surface always has messages for us. It always has what looks like a clear layer of water, and then a layer below of what looks like the moon or the earth, like bubbles and kind of spots on it. So that always is a sign to me. It's the cacao already telling me, I'm going to take you beyond the veil. I'm going to take you up into the cosmos, beyond the moon. We're going to go on a journey right now. And so I love to just get lost in that. So what I found, again, was that I would sit there sometimes for 5 whole minutes, just staring at the surface of the cacao, because it's very hypnotic. It just is constantly changing shapes and moving for you. And so you're just looking and you're enjoying it. And then we invite this magical, beautiful, magnificent spirit into our awareness. We invite Mama Cacao, we invite the cacao into our awareness. And we invite the cacao to take us into its awareness, its consciousness, its higher expanded state. We invite the cacao to take us and to see whatever it is, whatever story or belief right now that it sees that would be one of the most perfect stories or beliefs to let go of, that would really help to unravel so many other stories and beliefs in our life. And if it must just be one, that's wonderful. And if it can be a few, that's wonderful, and help us in a very gentle way to release those stories. So we invite the cacao to come into our awareness and for us to go into its higher consciousness and awareness, take us. And then we set an intention. So I always ask or suggest that we take a couple of seconds in silence so that you too, so whoever's listening right now, we're going to be probably just about 10 seconds in silence, and you're going to ask the spirit yourself in silence. You're just going to ask for something, some clarity on something, maybe something specific. Let's do that right now. Beautiful. Now just take a moment to feel how beautiful that felt. To speak directly to the cosmos, to God, to the oneness consciousness, to whatever feels right for you. Feel that feeling. Fall in love with that feeling. Because the more you fall in love with that feeling, the more you're going to speak directly, and then the more you're going to remember that you come from that consciousness. You are that consciousness. It's beautiful. And then we look down at the cacao. And one last time before we drink, we feel really happy, feeling really happy right now. Your heart is open. How can we send this happiness, this love to each other, you and me, Iris, to every single beautiful soul that's listening to this beautiful podcast right now, beyond to our families, to our communities, to our cities, to our countries, beyond the earth. Just see this beautiful light, your love rays coming out of your heart all the way around, shining so far beyond the earth, into the cosmos, into a place where you don't even see the end of your beautiful love rays anymore because it's beyond the infinite. Feel that love. Send that love. How magnificent it feels to have that love within you and to send that. And then we drink. Namaste, Satnam, Amen, I love you, whatever you wish to say. We take a sip. And then when you have your cacao, you can sit for a few minutes in silence, ideally, because you're just, as long as you can sit in silence or, listening to some music, but just not talking, enjoying every sip slowly. This is a magical plant medicine, a sacred plant medicine that you get to drink. It's in our lives, how lucky we are, how beautiful this is. And you just enjoy that moment. And then you decide what you want to do next. Maybe you want to dance. Maybe you want to just go to work. Maybe you want to play an instrument. Maybe you want to do some art. Whatever you want to do, it's totally up to you. There's no right, there's no wrong. Go into your heart. Start bursting that intuition of yours. You're going to get some feedback. You're going to get some beautiful responses. The time is now for us to open up our hearts into those massive peonies that's just going to express and bring so much love to all of humanity, which is what we all need. So many of us have just forgotten who we are, and we're so scared. And this is why there's so much anxiety and chaos. But once we remember the love that we are, it's such a magnificent place that we're creating.
Thank you so much for that. I received. I felt like I was a Care Bear, just like bursting from my heart. So thank you for that. I'm so excited to build my connection with cacao now after this. I mean, for those listening, she literally emailed me about being on my podcast, and it was, I think this was a divine at work. So thank you for reaching out and sharing and exchanging energy and your knowledge. I appreciate you so much. Again, if you guys are interested, you can email her. Share your email, which is Judy at justjudy.com.
.ca. Yeah, Judy at justjudy.ca. Perfect.
I love that. .ca. And then at Goddess Temple Cacao with AO, and her website as well. So Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and the light in me truly sees the light in you. Thank you for those of you listening, for those of you watching. Be sure that you like, subscribe, follow the podcast at the I'm Healing Podcast on Instagram. Follow me at ILM_healing on Instagram. And you can take a look at all of my services, ilmhealingsoulutions.com, and the book, healingmyforbodiesbook.com. Thank you so much, and happy healing.
Happy healing. Thank you, my love. Mwah. Kisses to everyone.